anyone who wants to convince others, persuade others, bring others to their point of view, will benefit from, I think, the insights that we're going to talk about today. Now, with regards to our kids, when parents think about making their children listen to them, it's usually in, I would say, broadly two different contexts. One is the small things, right? So you have taken your child to the park and you need to come back home, but they're enjoying it so much that they just don't want to leave, and you don't know how in that case make them understand that you need them to come back, how to make them come back. And you're in a public place, so probably you're also, as a parent, very conscious of the fact that there are other people around you, and you may even be conscious about how other people perceive your parenting. So you kind of are in a very tricky situation where you don't want to do anything that would seem inappropriate, or on the other hand, you also want to get your child to come home. uh, so little things like that, or you are dressing your child and uh, your young child, and they want to wear something, but you know that what they want to wear is is not appropriate for where you are going. Things like that, or you want them to eat something, little things in day-to-day life, just do that you need them to do just to keep on functioning as a family, right? And then there are bigger things that you really wish deep in your heart that your child would pick up, something that is very important to you, very valuable to you. For example, you may be from a certain religion and your religion may be very important to you, but you may be living in a situation where those religious values are not a part of um, their lives outside of the house, in their schools, in the broader society. Those things are not part of what is normal, what is commonplace, and you don't really know how to make, let's use the word make within quotes here, how to make them pick up this thing that is very important to you. Or it may be something that about other kinds of belief values, or being a certain kind of human being, or a love for something. Maybe you just love football and you would have loved for your kid to love football. So those are sort of different from the things that you need to have a functioning family. Those are bigger things. So whatever whatever the thing is, one of the first principles that um, anyone really trying to convince anybody uh, can remember, if they do remember, will help them, is this principle of connect before correct. Connect before correct. So correction is, of course, it's you're making them, what they're doing you think is an incorrect behavior, and you want to bring them to the correct behavior. And some of these things you may just have to, because they're there, they might be going and hitting somebody, or screaming, doing things that are absolutely not appropriate and not the right thing to do, right? So parents need to do these things. So anyone you try to convince or persuade about anything, uh, you, you it would be helpful for you to remember that you would be more successful if you understand that person. So, what do I mean? So, say I want my son to study. They have a test. I want him to study now, and if he's just saying like, no, I can't. Um, Now, in that situation, you may be tempted to just use force, right? As a parent, you have more power. You may just scold, or you may directly threaten with some kind of consequence or something. You somehow use your greater power to make them do what you want them to do. When you do that, something like studying, will they be able to focus on their studying? Probably not, you know. So, as a parent, the wisest thing to do in that situation is to try to understand why they don't want to study. Now, it may be that they're just too young to understand the importance of studying. In that case, you have to be more flexible, and it is something that will gradually you will be able to explain to them, and they will understand themselves. Uh, um, and then they will, and with your support, they can be more regular in their studies. But it may also be that they have just had a very stressful day. They are just very tired. They didn't get enough help, or they're just very upset about something. There are many, many things that may make a child say that they don't want to study at that point. So when you understand why a child is behaving the way they are, what you then do is you connect with them. You tell them, I understand you have had a long day and you're very tired. You don't feel like studying now. Probably if I was in that situation, I wouldn't have felt like studying either, you know? So, what you are doing is you are validating their feelings. You're validating their feelings. And a lot of parents, I would say, especially in the kind of cultures we come from, are really scared of doing that. We're really scared of validating their feelings because they think that, oh, if I say, okay, I see you're afraid, yeah, it's scary, then they think um, the child will get the message that it is okay to act in a scared way, or it is okay to skip your studying someday if you don't feel like it, or it is okay to do the things that we think are not appropriate for them to do. What happens though when you invalidate their feelings, you create doubt within themselves about themselves, because when you're telling the child like, no, 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 you don't feel like you do feel like studying, you can't say you don't feel like studying. What if it's, especially if it's a younger child, they trust the parents so much, they would think that, oh, okay, there must be something wrong with me then. You know, there must be something wrong with me because I don't feel like studying. Something wrong with me because I'm scared of doing this thing. Something wrong with me because right now I feel really angry and I want to lash out, because they are feeling those things that you say that, oh, they can't, but they are already feeling the fear, they're already feeling the anger. So what we're doing is that sowing the seeds of planting the seeds of self-doubt in them, right? So which is never a good thing. So that what we can do instead is we connect, but then say, we connect the way I just mentioned a little while ago, like, okay, I can see that you two right now you're tired, or right now you're upset, or you just haven't had enough fun. But I can see that I would probably feel that too. What that does is like that helps them feel like you understand them, you accept them, you're on their side, right? And then you say that, um, but depending on the age of the child, if it's age appropriate, that, but in life, we we do sometimes need to push through our feelings. We need to stick to our routine, or we need to make exceptions sometimes, because this day, the day before the test, will not come again, and you will not feel good if you don't do your best tomorrow. So accept their feelings and guide them towards the behavior you want afterwards. So you're connecting before you are correcting. And while we're on this subject of connecting before correcting, I would say the number one reason kids don't listen to their parents is because they don't have a strong, trusting bond, what we call secure attachment with their parents. If you think just as a person, right? If you, who has more influence on you? So the person who you always feel judged by, you feel doesn't doesn't respect you, doesn't accept you, doesn't like you, always is upset with you, is angry with you, misbehaves with you, uh, or the person you feel accepted by. If I would say, like, the people in this world, the few people in this world who I feel like very understood by, you know, who I think will like me no matter what, love me no matter what. Those people are the people who I feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable with. Those are the people who they say, I believe in you. You can do it. But then I talk about my doubts with them. I say, but I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that, and I'm really, and that day I did this awful thing. So those are the people who I actually open up to, and who actually get to know the root causes of me being a certain way, me acting a certain way, and then they get the chance to actually really influence me, because they can get me to open up. And then if they say, I trust you, it's okay, human beings do that, human beings can, even the best of human beings can and act like that sometimes. We're human beings after all. I think you need to think like this. You could try thinking like this, or you could do more self-care, or you just need just at that time use this technique. Whatever they say, then when I am trusting towards them, when I trust them, I am much more willing to listen to, right? I'm much more willing to accept. I'm much more willing to consider, much more likely to consider. It's the same with children. And Gabor Mate, who many of you may know, he says it in a very nice way. He says, like, the word discipline, with which parents often want to do to their children, is linked to the word disciple, right? So who is a disciple? Disciple is somebody who maybe have accepted somebody as a mentor or a guru. Can you force somebody to be your disciple? No, you have to command, meaning automatically attract that respect, that liking, that trust, right? So the majority of the work of making your child listen to you is done at the times when you don't need them to listen to you, when you're building your bond with them. It is created by being there, really being there for them, really taking the time to understand that, them really taking the time to understand yourself, really taking the time to understand how a child develops, and creating space in your life, in your mind, to spend time with that person, do things with that person, do things they love, and just being in the world enough so that they want to be your disciple. I hope that makes sense. So that was our first point, a very important point. It this is the thing, like, that works with my children. Connect before correct. Understand how you can connect with them. Spend time connecting most of the time so that the correction will become much easier. Secondly, this is very, very important. One of the first principles we talk about when we talk about parenting is that children will not do what you say them to do, ask them to do, or order them to do. Children will do what you do. Children will not do what you say. Children will do what you do. In other words, modeling is extremely important. And again, I'll repeat, this is not just for children. This is for any impact you want to have in the world. The other day, I heard somebody say this very nicely. This was a person who explains Islam, and who gets lots of questions, uh, and people were, I guess, religious parents were concerned that their son or daughter might not continue their religious tradition, or at least not the way they want them to. And then, because for many parents this is something that is so important, that they want to force it down the child's throat, almost like they because they're just so scared that their child will go the other direction, that they react to that fear by trying to over control, trying to use force, and so on and so forth. And this person was saying, it's beautifully, what he was saying is that, you cannot force your child to do something, but what you can do is transfer your love. What you can do is transfer your love. So this is obviously more relevant for these big things that you love and you'd love for your child to pick up. You cannot force these things on them. What you can do is to follow those things yourself with passion, with your unbridled love. What we often ignore is that children learn way more from simply absorbing the vibration of the place they're in, simply observing, absorbing the vibration of the place they're in, observing the people around them, that they learn most things by simply, I think, simply osmosis, And a little diversion here, but I remember my older one, when he was, this is when he's 6, 7 years old, he went through a big change. That's when we moved, right? And he was kind of having trouble in the school he was in, and there were many reasons for that. So I'm not going to say that this was like just a particular teacher's fault or something like that at all. And in fact, I mean that teacher was very, very well intentioned and amazing in many ways, but he for several reasons was sort of acting out in this teacher's class. But then once he came here, and that teacher was, even though that person liked him a lot, praised him in other ways, was also kind of reacting when he was acting out. Versus he went to a different school. We moved to a different school, and then suddenly in class he was much more well behaved. And I talked to him about this, that like, do these teachers punish you? These new teachers, do they scold you? Do they do anything? But you are much, much better behaved. And he said something quite perceptive that just shows you how perceptive children are. And he said, no, but mommy, I can sense that I would be in trouble if I if I don't behave. You know, so what there was that that place had was years and years of history, that new school he went to, years and years of history of people abiding by certain rules and consequences if those rules were not abided by. And those rules, yes, they were spelled out to it, but it was also in the overall vibration of the place that we just don't do these things, and anybody who deviates from this major rules will have to have some consequences. He felt it. He felt it. And that feeling of it was enough. So, uh, so because I already deviated, let me just kind of try to get to this point now, is that if you want to people to be in a certain way, create a vibration that is supportive of that. How we can do that is by you being that way, you modeling that behavior, you following that rule day after day after day after day after day on a consistent basis, and doing what you can in your physical environment to support the following of that behavior. And you will see that when people enter that space, people turn a certain way. I will give you another example. A better example is the Quantum Foundation in Bangladesh. I mean, I there have been many days when, because quantum is something that nurtures positivity, right? When we are in quantum, we are at our most positive. We say positive things. We try not to be judgmental. We try not to gossip. We try to be encouraging. We try to be joyful. So because this is this place where this is a Quantum Foundation office where nobody lives, but when people come there, they do act in joyful ways. They talk about positive things. They participate in meditations together that are intended to bring out the positivity in you, intended to relax you, bring out the positivity in you. When people come to that place, even if a lot of people who were, maybe they were upset, maybe something happened in their home, and they were upset, and half an hour ago they were upset, but when they enter that place, the energy of that place then brings out the positivity in them. So if you have a child who is acting in ways that you don't want them to, this is also something that you should look into. What kind of environment have I created? If it's within a family, how are me and my husband interacting? Am I are do things come at a regular time? Do I provide them food at a regular time? Do Am I providing them the structure that bolsters a child, or is everything chaotic? Are people's moods unpredictable? If that is the case, then of course the whatever you say, the vibration they're observing is nor is against what you want them to do, and then they will start behaving in chaotic ways too. But moving on to the point I was making, that is that is the transferring your love, right? So when people really love something, there is a beauty to it. There is a beauty to it. Like, I remember we had a teacher who we found not very inspiring, but that teacher really loved geometry and came alive when geometry he was teaching geometry, and then we started thinking like, oh, this geometry thing, this is pretty interesting, right? Maybe you've gone through your life not liking geography, but maybe one teacher who just made geography come alive for you, right? So you have much better chance of your child taking up the thing you love, whether it's a certain religion, whether certain values, certain activity, by sharing your love for that thing with them. You can do that thing, you can gently invite them to participate in it with you, you can talk about why you love it without any pressure on them to pick it up. And what you will see is that if you continue to do that, if you are doing that thing out of love and not out of resentment or fear or any other negative emotion, you would see that you'd usually see that the people around you are picking up that thing sooner or later. Uh, One thing that is very, very important to realize is that every individual, whether it's a child or a grown up, every individual has a need, and I would say a right to agency, right? I mean, of course, when you're a child, like if the child wants to exercise their agency by running across the streets, when you are not supposed to, when the cars are moving, you can't let them exercise their agency. You have to keep them safe whatever way you can. But as a child is growing up, they have a natural and valid desire for agency, meaning following their own will. And going back to Gabor Mate, if a child starts feeling like anything matters to you more than it matters to them, they will feel like not doing it. Do you understand? So the child wants to have, I don't know, sorry, I shouldn't say do you understand? Have I been able to explain myself? So the child might want to study, and this might be a child who is motivated. They want to have good results. But if they start feeling like, oh, this thing matters more to my mom than to me, whenever they study, they will feel like, oh, I am having to do this for the sake of my mom and not myself. That will actually put them off studying. So, because of that, forcing doesn't work. What works is sharing, discussing, explaining, and then once you see that they have an interest in something, nurturing that, supporting that, helping create routines for that. When they're stuck with something that makes them sort of get a little less interested in that because it's becoming uncomfortable, help them go through that discomfort, uh, create the environment so that they can pursue that. Do your part in pursuing, in helping them pursue that. But they should feel like, especially as they grow older and older, that they're doing it of their own accord. And I'll be very like honest. Like, I used to be scared with my older one with, that, oh, because he came to London at age 7, and he took this this 8+ test, which was, I felt like, he had to prepare in a very short time. I felt like, oh, this is like too much pressure for a child. And I was really worried if I have sort of put him off studying, and I was like, no, I'm going to, you have to want this. I am not going to push this on you. Luckily, with him, as he grew older, he sort of started becoming quite serious himself. And my husband, he did, are you doing this just for mommy? Are you doing this just for mommy? I said, no, yes, I know mommy likes that, but I actually want to do this. So then I was like, okay, he wants to do it, fine. Then I am supporting him in doing something that he wants, supporting him in attaining a goal that he wants to attain. So, but I think it helped that I was careful. I was at least aware that, oh, at some point, if I do this too much, it will put him off it. Uh, so that helped, because me sort of backing up, I think, allowed him and his real desire to come out and do it for his sake. So I don't know what will happen with my younger one. Anyway, it doesn't matter, because what matters is like he pursues what he's interested in. Um, so always remember this, like that your child or whoever you're trying to persuade should never feel like they're having to do this for you. They should always feel like they're doing it for themselves. So anytime your behavior is veering towards uh, something that you think the other person will take as pressure, I think it's very, very important to be careful about that. Again, when your child is young and you need to keep them safe, that is a very different thing. That you of course you do what you need to do, and you create the environment in a way that they can't do what will make them unsafe, or they can't really do the things that are not, will be bad for them in the long run. Now, something very important, and a lot of parents, I think, are not aware, you and we're just learning, are not aware of, and all of us are just learning, is what a child is able to do and not able to do at a particular age. I have often noticed that if we are not aware, we parents, we act as if our children are grown-ups. How could you think this way? How could you do this way? But we now know that the brain is developing a all your life, but what we call the adult brain, that adult brain is not formed until the mid 20s. Okay, until you're about 25 is when your a child's brain becomes an adult brain. And I personally think it is very, very helpful, and I think we should do it. It is a child's right for the parents to know what a child's brain is capable of doing at a certain age. I will give you a small example, right? So, a child usually, starts to speak around a year. When they're about a year old, maybe by three, they're maybe, some child, a particular child, maybe very well spoken. They may use very nice words and have a good vocabulary. Obviously, at that point, you think they understand yes, they understand no. Yes, they do understand yes, they understand no. But just because they can say no, understand no, doesn't mean they have the impulse control to to refrain from a certain behavior. Okay, so you say, the remote is lying around, and they can turn on the TV, and you just tell them, hey, Noah, don't watch TV until 5 o'clock. Your TV time doesn't start until 5 o'clock. And then you say, like, Noah, and then you find that he's turned on the TV because they all know the gadgets and stuff. They learn better than us, right? Then you're like, how do you not know? So that's because his brain is not hasn't learned impulse control yet. And if you read about neuroscientists, you will see that that is normal for his brain. So at that age, you will have to have the remote control hidden somewhere so that he can't turn it on himself. You will have to maybe if they are using any personal gadgets or something that is like at older age, my child's school gave him something for his homework and stuff, but that only goes to him at when he's at home at his homework time, and then the rest of the time he has to give it to us, and we all accept the fact, including him, that at his age he can't really wouldn't have the impulse control to do that, and he's accepted it, and we have accepted it, so we're not expecting him to do something that his brain is not ready to. We just take it, so we adjust to what his brain is able to do. Another example is metacognition. So metacognition is the ability to think about what you are thinking. So if I tell a 5-year-old child, like, Noah, when you start thinking about this in your head, then think about that way. So that requires him to be aware of what he's thinking about. And of course, there are exceptions, like there are like the prophets were like they were fair from their babyhood. But for normal children, that ability to be aware of what they're thinking, like sort of being detached and looking at their thinking and then responding to their thinking a certain way, deciding not to act on their thinking or act in a certain way based on what they're thinking. That ability, metacognition, is doesn't appear until they're about 10 or 11. Now you can do things to help them develop that ability, help them develop impulse control, help them develop metacognition, but typically it doesn't uh, appear until a certain age. So when you're asking your child to do something that their brains are not ready for, they will not be able to do it. So you will have to, when they're 2 years old, you will have to, you will have to act in a certain way to create certain conditions for them to act in a certain way. And then when they're older, then you will have to create a certain different kinds of conditions for them to act in a certain way. When they're like toddlers or preschoolers, you basically pretty much need to create an environment so that they can't do the things that you want them not to do. You just don't have those things present, don't have things that they can break in front of you because they don't have impulse control. Yes, of course, I mean, if you have an environment where nobody does that ever, yes, but I think for honestly, for a child, things like this, like breakable objects right in front of them, I think it's like, I personally think like, it's not very fair to an energetic child who is, or a curious child, because children are curious. Their job at that age, 3 year old, 4 year old, is to learn about the world, right? So they this thing that they do of opening up, looking at things, throwing things, is part of them learning about the world, like what acts in what way. And if you want to encourage that, then don't keep things that can be harmed in their spaces, that can be harmful to them or they can harm. So and then, okay, I'll do a couple of more things that are very useful for smaller children, and I think then we will stop at that today. One is offer children choices, right? So we will talk about how children need to feel, everybody need to feel like they have agency, they're making choices. So going back to that example of, you're going somewhere and your child wants to wear something that is completely inappropriate, right? So on Eid day, they want to wear something really, Eid, like, or you're going to a wedding and they want to wear their most casual and most like maybe tattered clothes or something like that. So in those cases, what we can do is still give them choices. Like still give them say like, oh, we are going to a wedding now. So these are your clothes that are appropriate for wearing to wedding. Like you want to wear this one or that one. If you have three nice sets of clothes that they can wear to a wedding. So what happens is this: they're still getting a choice. They're still getting to exercise their opinion. So then they're not so resistant to doing it or going your way. In comparison to if you had just presented them with one thing and say, "Hey, you have to wear that." They wouldn't want that. But if you give them like two choices, three choices, all of you pre-selected all of which you think are appropriate, they are much less likely to resist. Another thing, again, going back to the very first thing I said, was like when things like that, like when they don't want their TV time to end, or when they don't want to leave the park, for example, like don't want to stop something they're loving doing, which is a very normal thing with children. Uh, we have to give them prior warning, like we have to say like, okay, in 5 minutes, we're leaving the park. Okay, Noah, you have 3 more minutes TV time. Okay, you have 30 seconds, and you will see that it's much easier to get them to do what you want them to do, because then their brain is getting the time to adjust to this idea that they have to leave this thing that they're very engrossed in, and transition to doing something else. So again, all of this are super practical, and I would say in just one thing, and we'll just end, is that this thing of like when they're super immersed in something, not screens, not TV, okay? They will always be immersed in them. You always have to give them limited time, but something that they are doing themselves. They're reading something, or like my younger one, he's into art, he's drawing something. It is better to try not to interrupt them. If you want your child to develop the ability to focus, if you want them to increase their attention span, it is important to not interrupt them when they're doing something with a lot of attention, right? Because that's when the brain is exercising this power of focus, exercising this power of giving attention. So um, when they're in that state, you want their brain to get used to being in that state for as long as it's holding it naturally. You don't want to artificially come and interrupt that, because I'm saying this because of course we parents won't always be able to do that, but we parents are very oftentimes not very sensitive about these things, right? We just think our children are kind of our I just know, our property. So like, okay, stop, come, do this, what are you doing? So we just think that, oh, we are the parents, we can go and interrupt them anytime they want. But if we want them to learn to focus, to keep their attention on something for a long time, then when one of the things we can do is to not interrupt them when they're doing something attentively. And again, not screens, because screens they will look at attentively whole day if you let them. Not that, but something that's hands-on, that they're doing, that they love doing. Okay, so that was our talk for today. I hope you got some insights for this, and I'm going to start the meditation. And today we're going to do the happiness meditation. We haven't done that in a few days. Um, if you think that um, th- we're doing something useful in this, the insights provided by this program is useful, please share it with others, tell your friends about it. Please go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. It's called Quantum Method International. If you are joining us through Zoom, we are here. We're not going anywhere, and we're putting in more and more effort into making this useful for people. I think all kinds of people from all kinds of background, all kinds of values. Only thing is, you have to be, English has to be a language that you're comfortable in, and that's about it. Please, please, please subscribe, share, tell people about it. That will he'll help us think. A comment, please leave a comment if you're listening on YouTube about today's topic. Whether you have some personal insights from your parenting. Just leave us as just so that we can see, we can understand that if this is something that is helping you or not, or you're liking or not, and then that will inspire us to go forward, and will do even better in the future. And those of you who are listening on YouTube, the meditation we're playing, you will get a link in the description so that you can practice this meditation anytime you want. So I'm going to go and start the meditation now.
Welcome to peace and happiness, dear friend. I congratulate you for your desire to live a long, vibrant, and happy life. I am Shahid Al Bukhari Mahajatek. To make this quantum journey easier, I shall be your guide. If you simply do as I tell you to do, think as I tell you to think, and imagine as I tell you to imagine, you will reach a deep meditative level. You will be on your way to a long, vibrant, happy life. If you are ready, let us begin our quantum journey. Close your eyes softly. Take a deep, long breath. Inhale through your nostrils. Exhale slowly through your mouth. Expand your lower chest and upper abdomen as you inhale. This is called abdominal breathing. Take a bit longer to exhale than to inhale. Inhale through your nostrils deeply and slowly, and exhale slowly through your mouth. As you inhale, feel abundant, natural, and cosmic energy entering your body. As you exhale, feel all the toxins and harmful elements going out of your body. Inhale deeply through your nostrils and exhale through your mouth. As you inhale, feel abundant, natural, and cosmic energy entering your body. As you exhale, feel all the toxins and harmful elements going out of your body. Inhale through your nostrils and exhale through your mouth. As you inhale, feel abundant, natural, and cosmic energy making you more lively and energetic. As you exhale, feel all the toxins and harmful elements going out of your body. Inhale again, exhale slowly. Now as you exhale, feel your body is slowly becoming numb. You are now unable to move your hands and legs. Your body is motionless and inert. Now breathe normally through your nostrils. Now breathe very slowly. Take a bit more time to exhale than to inhale. Inhale slowly. Slowly exhale. 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 Now breathe normally. Now simply watch your breathing. Focus your attention on your nostrils where the air is entering your body. Breathe normally. Simply watch your breathing. Now feel your body becoming heavier. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Feel the relaxation flowing down from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Imagine a wave of relaxation is flowing down from your head to toes like melting ice. You are now totally relaxed. Your brainwave has dropped from beta to alpha level. You don't have anything called a body anymore. All you have is your mind, your consciousness. You have reached the alpha station on the way to your quantum home. In the alpha station, there is a special waiting room just for you. Now repeat silently with me. From the alpha station, I will go to my quantum home, my home of peace and happiness, which is in the deeper level of my mind. As long as I am there, all unnecessary external sounds will deepen my concentration. However, if there is any fire, theft, earthquake, or any other kind of emergency, I will spontaneously return to my normal conscious state and take quick appropriate actions. Now as I count 19, you will begin your journey, and when I count 0, you will reach your quantum home, your home of peace and happiness. When I count from 0 to 7, you will be wide awake from any level of your consciousness. Countdown begins. 19. Visualize a cool, soothing blue light showering on you. A long path of light has been created. This path leads to the deeper level of your mind. 18. 17. 16. 15. You are going deeper through this path of light. 14, 13, 12, 11. You are going deeper and deeper. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Deep. Our good wishes will be always with you. Goodbye.
Okay, so that was our Sadakayan for today, our positive lifestyle seminar for this week. We're calling it a different name now. I hope you enjoyed it. It gave you some insights. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope I will see you again next week. Until then, remember this simple formula: think well, speak well, act well, and be well. Thank you.